Hi there, I'm Chase Hagen with ARRI as part of the Americas team on the West Coast, and I'm happy to talk to you today about the Alexa 35 and some of our new accessories for it, like the CCM-1 camera control monitor. So with the Alexa 35, we had a software update recently. That software update 1.1 came out a few weeks ago, added a lot of features like a new recording mode for customers that just want to capture UHD exactly 3840 by 2160 in ARRI RAW. So that sensor mode's been added. Another feature we added is the overlay on the SDI outputs and on other outputs that let you show the actual texture being used. So you might have heard of the function and feature known as textures, and that allows us to have a digital film lab in the camera. We had a lot of customers ask for the ability to see what texture is being used on the SDI output of the camera. And that means that you can actually quickly look at it and go, oh, I know what texture is being used in the camera without having to dive into the menu or look at the home screen. So even on a monitor with wireless video, you can see things like what texture is being used. So more overlay support for that output. Another thing we added is a really cool frame rate preset user button. There's been a couple of improvements across the user buttons, but the frame rate preset is fantastic. So now I've actually set this user button number 6 on the camera to jump the camera from 24 frames per second, which is our project frame rate, all the way up to 120 with the push of a button. I don't need to go in the menu anymore and set it. It's kind of like if you remember the Amira had a user switch on the top of it that lets you switch between different frame rates. Now you can do the same thing with the push of a user button. So if I push this button here, the camera then will jump to 120 frames per second, which is really, really, really handy. Then in terms of new hardware, so we had that software update, but this new hardware was announced a week ago, and that's the Camera Control Monitor CCM-1. So the CCM-1 connects via the ARRI viewfinder cable interface. When you have it connected just via the ARRI viewfinder cable interface, it still makes a great monitor. It's color calibrated to the display of the MVF itself. So it's got ARRI color science, so it will match. But with the viewfinder cable only, you can only go up to 100 nits brightness. Now the monitor actually is capable of 1300 nits brightness if you add the power cable in there because it needs some extra juice. And then it's a 1300 nit monitor that's actually measured by ARRI as a 1300 nit monitor. It's a full 1080 display, 7 inches, but what's really unique about it is more than just a monitor. If we swipe over, you can see we have full ARRI camera control. So it has full menu control of an ARRI camera like you would expect. So if I go in here and I tap menu, you can see I have full control like I would expect from on the actual viewfinder itself, which is fantastic. So I can change all the settings of the camera like I would with the viewfinder from this monitor. So it's really quite nice to have that dual function, which is fantastic. So I can go in here and I can change settings without having to have the EVF connected anymore. In addition to that, it also works as an SDI monitor. So it has a connector in there for SDI in and then a loop through for out. So if you're using it with a non-ARRI camera, it just makes a nice monitor that you can use with anything. In addition, we have this really cool feature. This product, I guess you could say, is has its own sun hood that we custom designed for the CCM-1. So the sun hood is kind of like an iPad Pro cover in a sense that it's kind of origami. You can fold it down. You can basically kind of get it all the way flat to protect the monitor and transport. And it's very, very strong with those magnets to keep it upright. It's not flopping around. So you can simply pull it up like so, flap out the sides, get those magnets down, and it makes for a really, really nice premium sun hood experience. In addition to that, we also have a joystick on the back of the monitor for control. We have a lock switch, so if you're using it in cold weather and you don't have hands that you can, don't have gloves on it, so you can't use the touchscreen, that joystick is really nice for navigating the menu as well, which is fantastic. In addition, we have this great new mounting bracket called the Mac 1. So this adapter bracket here allows you to loosen 2 friction pieces here, and you can adjust the monitor with just one hand. So it's a lot better than like a Noga arm or strong arm, where when you're loosening it, you have to hold the monitor with one hand and then adjust the arm with the other, otherwise it'll fall. So these 2 adjustments here with friction mean that it's really easy to adjust the monitor and have it just kind of stay where it needs to stay without having to hold it and worry about it. And then you can just tighten it down when you have a chance. In addition, it also has 4 user buttons on the monitor, so you can set any of these 4 user buttons to any of the functions that you would like, just like the camera user buttons. So it's really kind of designed to allow you to have a really great monitor on camera. And if you're a kind of person that just doesn't even want to have a viewfinder, that you can remove that and have all the menu control there. On the Alexa 35, you can use both at the same time, which is really fantastic with our future software update. With the Mini LF, because it only has one of these Coax Express viewfinder ports, you can only use either the viewfinder, the MVF2 that it comes with, or the CCM-1 with the Alexa Mini LF, but it is compatible. Like I said, if you want to use it with other cameras, it works as an SDI monitor as well without all of that menu access and control. So, talking about another new product that's relatively recent in terms of when we released it, came out I think just before NAB. are the new impression filters. So the impression filters allow you to quickly and easily and repeatedly detune signature prime or signature zoom lenses to create a vintage lens aesthetic. So what we have here is we have a set of rear filters that magnetically attach to the back of a signature prime or signature zoom with the magnets already built into the lens so you can pop them on. We have 4 strengths of a negative and 4 strengths of a positive. So each one of these kind of filters creates a different effect. Now, of course, the strengths increase that effect, but the positive and negatives have very different effects. With the positive filters, it'll change the out of focus characteristics of the image, like for example, bokeh. It'll change the bokeh from being kind of a perfect circle or sphere, for example, with the normal signature prime, to a bokeh where, in the positive case, you have a hot center and it feathers out and gets darker to the edges. Now, the opposite would be with the negative impression filters, where it would create a bokeh that had a hot highlighted halo ring with a darker center, kind of like a bubble bokeh. And so again, 4 strengths in each means a total of 8 impression filters. The really cool thing is that the positive impression filters don't actually require any shimming. We actually have an optical patent on those positive filters so that when you put them on the back of the lens scale doesn't change, and that works for all of the positive filters. With the negative filters, that's not possible, but the nice thing is we have one shim for all of the different filters and the negatives, and also you don't have to worry about different focal lengths. So it's one shim for every focal length, zoom or prime, and also for every strength of the negative. It's a 2mm shim that actually comes in the kit. So we sell it as this kit in this nice box with the shims, the tools needed, as well as the 4 negative and 4 positive filters. We actually have a really great tech talk you can take a look at on the ARRI YouTube channel. That's 20 minutes long by our cinema lens specialist, Art Adams, where he goes in depth with what these filters do and shows some real life examples that he actually shot there in New York City. Now, on one of the cameras here, we have it set up with the impression filters, so you can see the effect of the positive or negatives real time on our Wednesday set, which is really great because it's interactive and you can see how those filters are affecting the bokeh quality and really just how quickly they can cause things to fall out of focus. The positives actually make the backgrounds really, really smooth, fall out quickly. The negatives actually maintain some of that structure in the background to create a more textured background in the out of focus area. So it's really fantastic to be able to try these live here and really see what they do to the lenses. And again, they're great. They're available now. They've been shipping for almost a month now. And again, they work great on any ARRI camera or non-ARRI camera because they work directly with the filter, the lenses themselves. So the impression filters going on the back of a primer or zoom mean that you can use it with any camera system, ARRI or non-ARRI. So they look fantastic on the signature primes. Signature primes look great right out of the box, but we had a lot of customers say, I want to have more of a vintage lens aesthetic with some funky bokeh and funky optical aberrations to give it some more character. So it's nice to have that selection with the whole impression filter kit.